Hey, Michael.
Hey, Scott.
We
Hey,
did sell
Scott.
our office, yeah. So
When did that happen?
we sold it 2 months ago, and now I regret it.
Why? Why's that?
Well, let's get into this week's article, and I can probably talk about all the reasons why. Today's article, we're going back. Oh, wait, let me read our introduction too. Hello and welcome. We are all the sons of CPAs. No, this isn't our 5 minute one. Okay, all right. Sons of CPAs bonus episode, where Michael Lee and Scott Scarano discuss some choice topics about running their modern accounting firms. I don't think that's the description I always use, but let's go into it. We are going back to our Karbon articles. This week on Karbon Magainze is the 3 infrastructure pillars you need to successfully run a remote or hybrid accounting team. In the show notes,
Hey, Scott.
I have a remote team. The first line on here is you can't expect to successfully run a remote accounting team without giving it proper thought. I think I gave it proper thought, but I didn't think through my mindset on working remotely.
Yeah,
So
define proper, right? Define proper.
you're a remote team, always
Mhm.
have been, but you do have a place to go, right? You do have an office.
Yeah, well, I'm the odd one in the company where I don't like working from home, so I rent a private office to go to. It's just me in the private office and a co-working space. My other reconciled employees come here and work with me. They all work from home. We offer to rent them an office if they don't want to work from home or if they want a co-working space to go to on the occasion. That's their decision.
Yeah, well, this is kind of where I'm at. I don't like working from home, and it's not because I don't like being at home. I can't switch it on really. Right now, it's like I can't switch the work mode on when I'm at home.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
if you do have a physical office and everybody working, and you decide it's just time to go remote. I don't know what other reasons you would have at this point because you may have already done that with COVID or experimenting with hybrid. And hybrid's a great way to lean into this. If you do have an office, but you want to think about, well, maybe we can't go fully remote, but we can do things from anywhere, anytime. And then it leaves the office to be more or less a choice, right?
Well, yeah, it's funny. Most of the people that say we can't go fully remote, I often find that answer is coming from the owner's preferences and
Mm.
not a real can't. It's more of a I don't want to go 100% remote, or I don't want to have to put in the necessary accountability in order to treat everybody equally and to make sure that everyone has the tools they need to work. So this article is great because it kind of talks about, hey, if you're going to go hybrid or fully remote, here are some of the minimum things you're going to need in the 3 structures: physical infrastructure, tech infrastructure, and support infrastructure. And you're going to need these in a remote environment or a hybrid environment because your remote employees, especially, are going to be missing some of these things, and you're going to have to think through how to deliver these things in a remote environment.
Yeah, and you don't want your employees to have a different experience if they're maybe not in your state and you do have an office because a lot of firms are going that route. It's hard to hire right now. So let's find somebody in North Dakota that wants to work for us, right? And then how does that person in North Dakota feel welcome and feel part of the team and
Exactly.
integrated? So,
Yeah, and here's a reality, something that this article is not going to talk about, but is a reality of hybrid models. In a hybrid model where you have a lot of people working in person and remotely or both, or maybe 50-50, where your leaders are matters because out of sight, out of mind is a rule of thumb. And the employees that come to the office every day, naturally speaking, you're going to build a closer relationship with them faster because they're physically around you. And you're going to get those impromptu opportunities faster to go out for a drink, out for coffee, whatever, that you can't do with those remote employees. So when the promotion time comes, who's going to come top of mind, of course? the in-person employees. So if you're going to do a hybrid model, equity and how you're going to develop people and treat them fairly is really important, because you don't want your remote employees to feel left out, like you just said, or to feel like they're getting the plan B or the second class experience of your firm as opposed to the employees in person.
Yeah, filling in those gaps and making sure that everybody's getting that whole 360 view all the time is hard. And so let's talk about some of these infrastructures to have in place to kind of make sure the gaps are being filled with somebody that might not be in person all the time. So physical infrastructure, this is more or less the staples of what your employees are going to need regardless if they're working at their house or at the office.
Yeah, besides the basic list of desk, chair, headset, monitor, mouse, keyboard, laptop, I like that they started with a work environment. Don't assume all of your employees' homes are a comfortable or even remotely a practical space to work at. If they've got little kids running around all day long, if the kids aren't in school or are not school age yet, if they've got a lot of animals, if they have a spouse that's at home all the time and doesn't tend to dress professionally all day while they're there at home, if they've got a loud house or a loud neighborhood, that work environment's really important. And we make a big assumptions about our employees' home and life, and you can't. So you got to dig into that. And the way we figured that out for at Reconciled, especially for new candidates, is in our interview process, we specifically ask about how have they set up their home environment for success for remote work. Do they have a separate room? Do they have a curtained off area of the house? Do they have their own basement or garage? Will there be dogs or cats or animals or children or other adults walking by while they're on working? Will there be any kind of distraction? Those are all the things. And so that work environment, I'm glad it started there. It is a really important thing to think.
Some great observations I've made is they can turn in a closet, right? This was something early on I saw. A closet that's not being used is now their office. And it doesn't have to be a huge office, but it is a place they can go. And you see a lot of housewives that use their closet as their solace time, right? They go in there, they use their phone, or they'll go, drink their wine in their closet and have their alone time. Well, some people go in their closet to work, and they're like coming out of the closet. So
Most men's solace time is on the toilet. Right? So I'm
that
pretty
is
sure.
true. Yes. So maybe we can figure out a way to get a laptop toilet, right? Just a way to kind of ease it in, when you're going. You don't have to use your phone while you're in there. You can actually get on the laptop. A laptop toilet.
No pun intended. Ease
Yeah.
it in. No pun intended.
Well, this would be easing it out, but let's go to tech infrastructure, right? So the next pillar that they are referring to is a tech infrastructure, and I think this is where we falsely thought we could just go remote because everything works anywhere, and that's not necessarily always going to be the case, right? But this is hugely important when somebody's saying we can't go remote because we have this server or we have this or we can't communicate well. These are the things to consider. And the biggest one is going to be your tech communication, right?
Right. And for like you said, many accounting firms, I'm surprised that this isn't listed there. Many accounting firms are still working off of a server network environment. And so when they're in an office, they can do that because Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft Server all works fine. When they come off of to a cloud-based environment, they do have to think through the intentionality around this. Are they going to go pure cloud? Are they going to use G Suite or the Microsoft tools, or what tools? Some of the video communication resources here, but also you have to be aware if your employee's internet at home is fast enough,
Yeah.
especially for remote employees. With a lot of people working from home now, the neighborhood's bandwidth, if they're on a cable internet, is being bombarded during the day with video calling. So even if your employee's paying for a certain amount of speed, they may not get that at certain times of the day because of the whole network in their neighborhood is being used up by work from home people, homeschooling people, other kinds of video and high bandwidth needs. You may have employees who they want to work from home, they're even set up, but they don't have the fast enough internet for these tools. You might find yourself having to reimburse or upgrade some of your employees' internet for them. in order for them to work successfully so that they're not missing and unable to hear calls clearly. But yeah, these video tools are important. And also, don't assume your employees actually know how to get on these tools as well. You and I both experience employees who have a difficult time, you know, troubleshooting Zoom or GoToMeeting or Skype when it's not working. And
Mhm.
so you need to make sure you,
Well,
you
that's it.
equip
Yeah.
them on how to do it.
And that's
Yeah.
that's a mindset too, is some people just want to figure it out and they will. And some people say, oh, this is not working. I can't get in. You know, I can't log into my Zero. Like, what is it? Like Zero's not working on my computer at home. I'm gonna have to go back into the office. I've heard that before too in the past. You know,
That's funny.
so
That's
yeah,
great.
there's anybody that can't log into a cloud tool, there's a bigger issue going on, and then they hit a wall. Okay, well, can't do this. Gonna
Right. And do they know who to contact? Is it you as the business owner, the firm owner? Is it an IT person? Is it a core resource at the firm that's taken upon themselves to be the IT person? Do you have an outsourced IT company that has usernames and passwords and credentialing and remote troubleshooting access to all the laptops of your employees? For a lot of firms, this is a new idea because they've been so server based in an office on a desktop with desktop based email. This whole idea of going pure cloud is very challenging. So they got to think through that
yeah,
implication.
and baby
These,
steps too.
yeah, yeah,
So, and that's a management infrastructure, more or less, is making sure that system is fail safe if you're hybrid, remote, or you're going to want to make sure that they know where to go. This interesting point, brainstorming and collaboration tools. This is not even something that I've dove into. Is the Miro boards or Lucid Spark? Tell me about how you do this at your firm, like workshopping ideas and strategies.
yeah. We use Miro. We've used other tools that allow us to share whiteboards or share virtual whiteboards, and draw workflow or pictures or whatever. We also have used Trello to follow a common group schedule through an agenda or through a meeting, and keep track of our action items and lists. So the traction model actually helps with a lot of these things.
Yeah.
But these are the tools, Miro, LucidSpark, MindMeister, that helps you really collaborate online effectively. I still think where there's a long way to go around some of these collaboration tools, because it's a matter of us getting used to using them. We're more used to the in the boardroom physically whiteboard
Us too.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most companies and most firms are not used to the, okay, let's all take our mouse and move the cursor around, not get distracted by the other cursors moving around, brainstorm your ideas, create your
Well, we all want to
workflow.
write something too, and immediately in my mind, I think if Miro works on an iPad and I can use my pencil on the iPad, then I feel like I'm writing on a whiteboard. You know, it's more or less.
Yep.
That's kind of where my head goes. Is am I drawing on this board? Am I drawing it, or am I doing it with my mouse? And I don't even know where to go with those things. So I haven't even gotten my head around that. That's why I thought that was interesting. We've got the organizational tools here. That's more or less your online bookings, your
Hmm.
cloud document storage. All firms need this if they are thinking about going remote, because you're not always going to have that front office archetype to do your scheduling for you.
Right.
If you're going to be remote, it gets even more difficult for somebody to be remote to say, okay, now they're going to set, you can't just transfer a phone call. You're going to have this shared schedule, shared calendar, and using things like Calendly really make that part of it effortless too. Traditionally speaking, I've always had a way to just send somebody a calendar link, and I'm surprised at how many people don't use that yet.
Yeah, and I think there's still this human element around scheduling that people like or enjoy, or maybe just put themselves through that pain. The calendaring I find to be very, very interesting when especially if it's a very important person that I want to meet with. I find it rude when somebody says, "Hey, just book something on my calendar." For example, we want to meet with somebody really important, or I introduce somebody that's really important to somebody else, and that person replies back with, your books in their calendar. This really important person's like, you expect them to book on your calendar? They're the more important person. You should
Wow.
make it easy for them, right? That's what I feel like sometimes.
Well, no, that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
point, because I don't like, I usually, the most important people, I want to make it the easiest for them. and I send them my calendar, and it works effortlessly because then on their end, they're in control, and they're in control of scheduling that meeting. And if they don't, they don't. But 100% of the time they do, and they do it on their time, and they get their own reminders. So at least that's my mindset. I've
I
never
think
seen
that's
anybody
great.
not schedule something.
I've always taken the approach of, hey, if this is somebody important, I'm going to have my assistant call them or send them times that work and basically handhold that process to almost treat them like VIP. That's what I
Okay.
think about. That's how I
So
think
then,
about. Yeah.
yeah, and then so from if you're trying to schedule something with me and you're sending me to a secretary, in my mind, I'm thinking, "Ah, this is too much work. I've got to hear these 3 times that they're only available. Now I got to go against my calendar and figure out
That's a
what's
different
this and what's
perspective.
so
That's
that's
good.
just yeah,
Yeah,
that's just in my mind. So
that's
I don't
good.
know.
Yeah.
We have different opinions on there, but I think they're both more or less we're trying to give a VIP experience to whoever
Yes.
we want to book, and if whatever that is. And I think anybody is going to appreciate either one because you're not just fumbling around on another phone call and wasting both people's times. That's the
Right.
way I look at it. And then document storage, that's a huge
Oh
thing. And
yeah.
there isn't one size fits all with document storage. I think they're all slightly different. They all have their own little, we talk about this a lot on some of the
Yeah.
episodes, where
Yeah. If some people use Box, some people use Google, OneDrive, Dropbox, ShareFile. I mean, there's so many people use. It's pretty amazing. Some people use a different one internally versus the one they use for their clients. It's very, very
we
interesting.
do too.
Yeah.
We have some stuff in Google Drive because it's just easier to share,
Yeah.
and then we've got some stuff we did used to have. We had a Dropbox, we had a box, we had Google Drive, we had our file cabinet, we had real file cabinets. It was all over the place. And OneDrive, we had that too. And you have ShareFile. Now it's just ShareFile for us. So practice management, workflow tools, Karbon for us. And that is more or less a life changer. Our most recent episode was with Ian from Karbon and our Karbon magazines here. A lot of the workflow tools, I think, are going to solve a lot of your firm's problems. You guys use Profit Sense, or Financial Sense, right?
Yeah, we've been using Financial Sense and we've been making a slow transition to the Licio Carbon combo.
Ooh, that's going to
Yeah.
be exciting to hear.
Yeah. It'll be
I'm going
very
to
exciting.
add the former to that combo some point next year, and I think that I'm excited about both sides of that because you've got your back office, you got your front office, and it streamlines things with clients and with the team. Everybody's on the same page when things are in Carbon. You can see your workflows, you know where things are going to go, you know where they've been, you know where they're at.
That's great.
Yeah. I know that that's one of the most important things in all of this, but people have got that under control. Security tools I'm interested in. What do you use for, let's say, password management?
LastPass.
Same with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
LastPass.
LastPass is the king.
They talk about a tool called Okta. Okta is a secure front door through which you can access the rest of your applications. That's interesting. I don't even know what that means.
Me neither.
Um, yeah, I would be interested to see a little bit more about that one day. So maybe we can find some guest that's using Okta and talk to us about that. Support infrastructure. This is where my heart is, right? This is where, the culture and strengthening outside of work, it's a really isolating experience if you're working remotely. You're at
Right.
home all day, you're alone, but you're working. Like, so where do we start here? This is a big deal, right?
Right. Yeah, no, this is really, really important in regards to the support infrastructure. You want to create the environment of connection. You want to create regular rhythms of accountability. You want to be able to communicate what's happening with the company. And I love the get to know you sessions. We've used Donut in the past. I actually have a weekly coffee with the CEO. It's my version of a weekly donut, and sometimes I have a donut during that time.
There you go.
But I think that's great. Uh, and then
Yeah.
having everybody on camera, seeing people smiling faces. Something I did, I do regularly is I reach out to employees that whether they report to me or not, I'll reach out to them with a message, just ask them how they're doing. Just it's really important that I check in with people and get a pulse of how people are doing and how things are going. And so I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about just kind of keeping things on somewhat of a cadence to do this because you could easily fall off and say, for us, we do these together days. And sometimes it gets boring. Sometimes nobody's really saying anything. and I've said, all right, should we not do this anymore? Like, is this really useful? And a lot of them came back to say, actually, it is. We do need that interaction, and we do need to see each other, even though maybe it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. So then we started introducing games again. You know, it's like at first we thought nobody was interested in playing the Jackbox games and those. Then once we started them back, everybody's really excited to play again. So it's more or less team bonding. There's something to be said about that. And if you stop doing it, people can get more and more into it, more or less just think everything's about work. So you got to make space for togetherness. So a happy team is a productive team no matter where they're set up, right? So that starts at the top. You've got to be happy. I find that usually if I'm in a poor mood, everybody seems to be in a bad mood around me. And I don't know if that's because poor moods are more or less contagious and happiness is contagious too. So
it's a good article.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott.